Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, home of the YouTube Silver Subscriber Award for crossing over 100,000 subscribers. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and we welcome you wherever you are in the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Our show today is Authentic Achievements, and we are going to be exploring a very important topic that I really believe can impact or affect all of us in one way or another. I'm not here by myself on this show. This title of this show and the platform Authentic Achievements was created by the star of our show, who's joining us from the United Kingdom, London specifically. Her name is Kim Adele Randall, and she wears many hats. She is an entrepreneur. She's a mentor. She's a coach. She's a leader. She's a TEDx speaker. And most importantly, she is the mother of a beautiful child. And we're going to be exploring permission to be human, creating a safe space to embrace vulnerability. Let's welcome Kim Adele Randall from London. Hello, how are you?
Good, Dr. Jacalyn. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here today, especially on this very important topic that you actually came up with. And before we dive into it, we have new people joining us all the time. That's what I'm just so thrilled about, people following us from across the world. In fact, I actually was at an in-person networking event, and I turned to the woman next to me, and she watched our show the other night. I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So please do feel free to tell our audience about Authentic Achievements, and if you could discern the difference between your platform or give them information about that, and then how you brought the show over to here, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. So I set up Authentic Achievements, oh my goodness, probably about 7 years ago now. And it was really around the fact that actually it took me a long time in life to get comfortable with being authentically me, and still acknowledging that that meant I could be a good leader. I could bring my whole self to the situation and still lead. And so I was very fortunate. I got asked to co-author a book, which I did, and it became an international bestseller. And I was given the opportunity to try my own podcast, so set up Authentic Achievements, which was really around trying to find people around the world to share their authentic story around success, around overcoming, around the things that had seemed overwhelming, but that weren't. And it was probably very much more predominantly in the business space for my platform. So it kind of probably held people into that space. Most of the people that I've interviewed have either been in corporate or they're entrepreneurs, and it's been probably through that business lens. But I thought there was more opportunity, because actually we teach and we learn through stories. And so I was super fortunate to meet the fabulous Dr. Jacalyn. Is it nearly 4 years ago now, I think? And you gave me the opportunity to first be interviewed and then to have a show. And I was like, wouldn't it be great to take the same title, that Authentic Achievements? Because the things that we achieve in life that are authentically ours aren't necessarily always related to business or to money. They can be to our family, they can be to our friends, they can be to our hobbies, they can be to anything. But they can still teach us those invaluable lessons that help us be more equipped at life. And so Authentic Achievements, USA Global TV and Radio was born, and I have the absolute privilege of often co-hosting with the fabulous Dr. Jacalyn, and we meet some amazing people who share their stories, whether that's been in music, in business, as parents, as grandparents, overcoming illness. There's so many stories in the world, and I pinch myself daily that I've been gifted with the privilege of getting to meet so many of these people, even if it is virtually through the camera like this, and share it with a wider audience to hopefully inspire and engage others who might be feeling hopeless to feel hopeful.
Thank you, Kim Adele. That was beautifully put. I really believe, and I was saying this to someone the other day, that the pandemic, as horrible as it was for so many reasons, was an opportunity for us to all reset and restart. And to your point that you and I've been together for 4 years, I was going through some emails to throw them out, and I saw an email from Red from 2021. Red's one of our team members. It's crazy how quickly the time's gone by. But in reference to the pandemic, I had to boot and figure out what I was going to do, because I retired from my corporate career March 6th of 2020. And then my mom got dementia, and so I moved in with her, and my whole life was completely different. And I realized that we were all going through something, and I think we're still going through something, maybe the fallout from that, or maybe the happiness from reinventing ourselves. And so this topic about permission to be human, I feel like there's a certain part of society, and I don't know what that is, but I can't say clearly everyone across the world, but there's a certain group of people who really do provide a safe space for people to share. And you are definitely one of those people. You're very candid and honest about the things that you've been through. You've had, I don't want to label or give a word, but you've had a very unique backstory. And instead of letting that take you down or break you down, you've used it to empower other people. So when you think about permission to be human and creating a safe space to embrace vulnerability, what does vulnerability look like to you?
Oh, great question, Dr. Jacalyn. And I think, having spent so many years in corporate life, I struggled really hard to be what I thought everybody else wanted me to be. So I tried desperately hard to fit in with the corporate perception of a leader. They were well pulled together. They were highly articulate. They had amazing vocabularies. Pretty much everything was black with a bit of navy blue to add in a bit of color. And I kind of boxed in who I was and what I was, because I quite early on in that corporate career got told that I didn't have the gravitas or the vocabulary to reach my potential. So I was terrified and went off and learned lots of really long words that nobody else that worked with me understood. So instead of saying I've got lots of ideas, I've got a plethora of ideas around that, until I realized that the people that I led every day no longer understood a word I said. And we weren't going to achieve anything because they didn't know what I was asking of them, which was, from what I could see, one of the largest problems in the wider organization was there was no clarity of what people were expected to do. And so I decided that I was going to be courageous, and the next role that I took, I'd step in and I'd be me. Now, I don't sit in the corporate space very well. I'm like a hyperactive puppy dog most of the time. And so I decided when I went to that next interview, I'd show up as me, warts and all. It's like, I know I can do the job, but actually it's that bigger job. I don't think I can do it if I'm still desperately playing at being the leader that I think you should be, instead of being the leader I know I can be. And so I think I've shared this on the show before, so forgive me, anybody that's heard this. I remember sitting in the final interview and they got to the end of it and they said, Kim, so if you had to sum yourself up in a word, what would it be? And I looked at them and I was like, loud. And they were really aghast. They were like, loud? I was like, yeah. So you've known me for like 50 minutes. Do you think I'm loud? And they were like, yeah. I said, then in that case, it's honest and it's self-aware. So I'll take it. And for me, that was my permission to myself to be human and to be vulnerable enough to say, this is who I am. And if this isn't right, I'd rather know now before I relocate a few hundred miles and have to pretend to be something I'm not.
Congratulations for you being authentic and being vulnerable and sharing that. And by the way someone else reacts to what we share, that's really on them. And I know many times we get bogged down thinking about how somebody's going to take the information that we share. And as you know, from taking so many of my courses, one of which setting boundaries and asking permission, is we have to set that boundary to protect ourselves, to respect ourselves, and to be able to respect others. And I remember, and I've shared this story myself, when I was in corporate and the last place that I worked for a long time, I went in and I was dressed to the nines. I was wearing Armani. I remember I had a beautiful Armani suit that I had for a long time. And I had my blonde hair, my red lipstick, and my red nails. I've always had long nails as long as they're growing. And I got the job. And then shortly thereafter, maybe a few months later, I was told that I was too loud. And that the CEO, when he saw me, he only saw red because I was so out there. And, he wanted it to be in the black, meaning that you're profitable. And I said, but this is how I showed up. I showed you who I am. I was vulnerable. I didn't put on some outfit that wasn't really me because I've never been preppy. I like jewelry. I like bling. That's just how I am. And so I showed you who I was and you accepted me, and now you want to change me. And I think that happens a lot in relationships when we meet someone and we're attracted to them for some reason, and then we want to mold them and shape them to be our perfect puppet, so to speak. So I'd love to have you address, how is it when we show who we are, like you have and I have and so many others, and we get that fallout that's not acceptable, and it's on whose terms?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think a lot of it, and this probably goes back to a conversation you and I have had before, Dr. Jacalyn, about when people tell you what you should do. And when they tell you what you should, not what you could, but what you should do, they're basically saying, you can't have that much power. I don't trust that you can do this. So I'm going to take the power and I'm going to tell you what you should do. The same is true, I think, when we try and fix people. There's a part of us that feels envy that person is willing to not conform, that they're willing to, as I say to Scarlett, embrace your inner weirdo. Like, we've all got a bit of an inner weirdo, and we spend all of our time trying to make sure nobody sees it. But we've probably all seen, and if we haven't, please go and check it out on YouTube, that video where, it's many years ago now, but it was at a outdoor concert and everyone was sat very nicely on the ground watching the music. And this one person got up and started dancing outrageously. And everyone was like, it's a bit awkward. Look at them over there. And as you watch the video for another couple of minutes, before long, in less than five minutes, actually the outsiders were the ones still sat there that weren't joining in, not looking like they were having a good time. And the ones that had got up and joined the person that was dancing were clearly filled with joy. And I think that's the thing. I think sometimes we know that there's something in us that we would love to have the courage to embrace, and we don't want to do it. And therefore, when we see other people having the courage, there's an element of wanting to pull them back from that so that we don't feel so uncourageous.
That is so powerful, what you just stated. I completely agree with you. When we are being our authentic selves, and I like to say being comfortable in our own skin, sometimes that bothers other people. And so, for example, I love to dance, and I just danced at a wedding recently, but over the years, I would just go out and dance by myself. I don't really care. And people would look at me and later say, you looked ridiculous out there by yourself. Well, I don't really care. I was doing my own thing. The question is, why are you sitting on the stoop, so to speak, and watching what I'm doing and judging me? And so I think that also is a part that we have to look at when we are feeling vulnerable and exposing ourselves, that other people might not be receptive to it. And then the question is, what's coming up for them that they're sitting in a place of judgment?
It's so true, because very often that is the place. People come up and tell us what they thought. And for me in that situation, my question possibly would be, oh, how sad that the only thing you had to do in the moment to bring you joy was to judge somebody else. Why weren't you creating joy of your own? Because because you were happy and you were having joy, and we see that. We see people having joy, and then we see people that immediately want to like dampen that. Oh, well, you can't do that because you look stupid, or you can't do that because you look precocious, or you can't do that because, well, why can't I do that? As long as I can live with the fact that not everyone's going to like me, that's okay. You know, I read a quote a few years ago. I love this quote, which was, I'd rather be somebody's shot of whiskey than everybody's cup of tea. And it really hit home because I'd spent years trying to be everybody's cup of tea. And I'm a British person. We could argue about how we take our tea as vigorously and as often as we do about politics or religion. So you're never going to achieve that. You're never going to be somebody's perfect view of a cup of tea. And that's okay, because for those people, they can just choose to scroll on. So you don't have to take the time to tell me that I'm not for you. You can show me that by moving on. When you choose to take the time to tell me there's something else going on for you, there's something else showing up in your world that means you weren't willing to just walk on by.
And when people do walk on by, I say let them go. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. And I know that's a tough one, because it's like what I was saying in the beginning. When you meet someone and then you have some kind of connection and then you get into a relationship, it could even be two friends, and all of a sudden you want to change the person. You know, I've had people say to me, and I know you have as well, your hair's too long, your hair's too short, your nails are too long, you wear too much makeup, you work out too much, you work too much, on and on. And I just sit back and say, who made you judge and jury? Who is it that, you know, that's got to be a ton of pressure that you are walking around with, judging everyone and telling them what they should be doing. What is it that you're doing that you have so much time to sit back and be in a position of judgment?
Because actually it depends who you're doing it for. So if you've got your hair the length you've got it because you like it like that, and you wear makeup because you like to wear makeup, and you dance because you like to dance, well, isn't our role in life, as long as we're not being unkind and harming others, isn't our role in life to find joy? So if I find it there and somebody else finds it somewhere else, some people will find joy going for a really long run, and I applaud them. It will never be me. It will never be my joy finder. I pass no judgment either way, not on myself for not wanting to, and not on them for finding it. They found their source of joy, and for that I am so grateful. My source of joy might not be joyful for anybody else. And my source of joy is dancing around like a lunatic in the kitchen with my daughter and our friends, not worrying about what anybody else thinks, just going with the flow, listening to the music, and just being happy in the moment. I don't expect anybody else to find that joyful. I find that joyful. And so I think, when people tell me all of these things, my question often is, for whom? So my hair's too long, for whom? Or I shouldn't have gone grey, for who? Because I have no concern with the fact I'm now grey. It's a fact of life. I happen to like it. I don't mind if anybody else chooses to colour their grey. That's their choice. I've chosen not to. And therefore, if I'm not going to pass judgment on you, why do people have to judge me? And one of the bits of feedback I got was, but Kim, you've got a really young face. And I was like, but my face isn't going to change. My face is still my face. It just is now surrounded by grey hair, not by blonde hair or brown hair or red hair, blue hair, I think I had at one point when I was hairdressing. My face hasn't changed in any of those. I haven't changed in any of those. It's just at the time, blue hair filled me with joy, and now grey hair fills me with joy. But I think we've got this, actually, when people are telling you that, what they're really telling you is they're living to a checklist that isn't their own. So they're having to fit into boxes. They're having to tick off categories that aren't their own. And that's frustrating. And sometimes when we're frustrated, instead of being frustrated at what is it we could do differently to stop ourselves living in this checkbox, we look for the people that are daring not to tick my box and go, no, over here into the unhappy camp, you need to tick these boxes too, because pity loves a party. Yeah, if I'm feeling miserable, well, actually, I don't. But for a lot of people, when they're feeling miserable, they want somebody else to feel miserable too, so that they don't feel so alone. Well, then we're just all feeling miserable. So I try and go, well, if you're feeling miserable, what can I do to make you find a moment of joy? Not to, I can't solve the rest of your problems. I can't, I can sit and listen. I can sit and hold space for you. I can sit and be here, because as we've talked about before, not everybody wants their problem solving. They just want a psychologically safe space to share without fear that you're going to suddenly leap right in with your underpants on the outside and a cape on and solve the world for them. Because they're like, no, I just want you to listen with no judgment, with no need to solve for me, but just listen. Because that sometimes is all we need. But we're only going to know what the other person needs if we ask them, what would good look like for you right now? What were you hoping to get out of this interaction? I've got a friend that rings me up sometimes. She goes, "Oh, do me a favor. I need to rant for 10 minutes. So can you just put me on speakerphone, go and do whatever you're doing and come back in 10." And I'm like, of course I'm not going to do that. But I'll go, look, I'll tell you what, I'll be listening, but don't worry. We don't have to talk about it. Again, I just can't in good faith know that you're ranting and not sit and give you the space to rant with somebody, giving you permission to be human, to go, we don't always get every conversation right. We don't always come out with things in the most well-planned. We don't always come out with the most rational sentences. I'm hoping I'm not alone in the world to have said something repeatedly in my head. And the minute I say it in the presence of another person, to hear for myself how ludicrous it is and go, it's right. I heard that for myself and I don't need any more input. I am perfectly okay to now acknowledge that that is not sensible thinking.
I always appreciate your transparency and your story sharing, because people can relate to stories, and you're really good at it, and you always have great quotes as well. So I think we have really put out there the fact that it's okay to be vulnerable, it's okay to share, and it's okay if somebody in the audience could be in your home as one person, if they're not happy with what it is you're sharing, because you are being true to yourself. And by being true to yourself, that's respecting yourself. So in order to create a safe space where you can even feel vulnerable when you're alone, I think is very important. And yesterday I was teaching a class, and it was setting boundaries and asking permission. And I was basically talking about being able to control your emotions. And you've taken the course, so you know, and being able to share your emotions is also important. And I think there is a fine line between holding your emotions at bay and sharing your emotions. And so what I do, and it's taken a long time to be able to do this, and I wish I was able to do it before, because my dad would say I have high highs and I have low lows. And now I think I'm pretty much one way, but I will give myself the grace of 10 or 15 minutes, once in a while, maybe it's an hour, to be upset, to be upset, and to actually say to myself, I don't feel comfortable right now with what's going on in my world, but this is happening for me. And what is it that I should take away from this? And so after I give myself that period of time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I take a deep breath, and then I go and do something so that I can get away from and get a clear mind, so I can come back and look for the solution. What are the solutions that could possibly help me on this journey? And I want to share one thing, and then I'll go over to you. I was invited to this networking event, and a woman from high school, she's actually younger than I am, but she invited me, and we hadn't really had a lot of communication over the years. And suddenly we're communicating, and I really didn't want to go, because I don't want to drive and I don't want to leave. I'm usually at this desk. This is where I'm at, this desk, producing or hosting or planning for the future. So I went, and I had a great time. I'm so glad that I did. And I thought there must be some reason why I was chosen by the universe to come here at this time. And I realized it was to do a retreat at this beautiful property. And so that happened for me, that this person came into my life that particular time, because I thought of retreats before. And so I'm embracing what's coming up Whereas before, I might have just not even considered certain opportunities because I'm so rigid and disciplined and set in my ways.
I love that. And I love that you were vulnerable enough to share that, because I think sometimes we find that hard, don't we? And I know we're in some ways so very similar. You know, when I moved to this house, I realized I needed to leave it at some point. You know, I got very comfortable leaving to go and do the school run and what have you. But then, you know, I spend most of my day, if I'm not doing this show or my show or writing, then, you know, dealing with working with clients, which is done very much this way. And it was like, but at some point you have to leave the house and go and meet human beings, actually face-to-face human beings. And so you know, I did similar when I came here. I was like, I'm going to force myself to go out and go and do something. And it's amazing what the universe brings to us. It's amazing what shows up when we open ourselves up to getting out of what's become our new comfort zone. Because I don't know if yours felt the same, but actually my desk and my space and my little studio was my comfort zone. I'm safe here. I can kid myself that I'm really busy, and I am busy, but you know that these things are really important. But the reality was, I think I'd started to lose some of my confidence about just going out and seeing what else was I supposed to be seeing from the universe that I was missing because I wasn't actively taking part.
And I think that's a choice that we make, right? Whether or not we actively engage or we disengage. And, you know, it's interesting. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to. We have a comment from someone, and it's actually very condescending. And I think to myself, I wonder why someone would take the time to leave a condescending comment. What do you think that's about?
Well, I think often that probably speaks more about what's going on in their world. Because again, you know, if it's not something they want to hear, no one's chaining them to listen. And that's something to say we don't take into account other people's opinions. But I always think if someone's just going to, you know, I always say, Scarlett, you know, the things that we do and the things we say should pass through the lens of, is it kind, is it honest, and does it add value? And if it doesn't do those three, we shouldn't do it. So I think it's absolutely fine for people to comment. It's absolutely fine for people to have their opinion. But there needs to be a purpose that says, what were you hoping to achieve? So, you know, what do you want to get back as a result of taking the action? Because you took an action, and everything we do in life is taking an action. So we have something in our head about what response it is that we're looking for. When we take this action, what are we hoping is going to happen?
I agree with you. And I think also when we provide a negative comment, for example, it has to be done in a certain way, because we know the sandwich approach. You say something nice, then you give the feedback, and then the follow-up or the call to action. And so just leaving a condescending comment, there's no real value in that, because I personally don't know what it is that what the person's issue is. And I don't know why they would waste their time. And so I'm not going to waste any more of ours talking about it, but think about the feedback that you're giving people and how you're giving it and what it is that you hope to achieve by doing so. So Kim Adele, I'd love to take the rest of our time and talk about some actionable measures people can take to create a safe space. And for me, it's all about setting boundaries and asking permission. And people have said to me, you know, maybe 2 or 3 people out of all the people, and these people haven't taken the course, but they don't like the title. They think the title should be prettier, or it should be more elegant. But for me, it's very clear: setting boundaries, asking permission when it comes to relationships, when it comes to taking up someone's time, when it comes to sharing. So for me, to be able to listen to someone at the highest level, meaning I'm totally focused, I'm totally present, we have to set boundaries. So how long is this conversation going to take? And at the end of it, do you want my opinion, or do you just want me to listen? What are your thoughts?
I think it's true. I think sometimes we get it. I think the title, for me personally, the title's fine. Does exactly what it says on the tin. It is there to teach you how to set a boundary and how to seek permission for the time to be able to have that safe space provided for you, and set the parameters of what you want them to do to that. And equally, if somebody wants that space from you, tell me what you want from me. Do you want me to just listen? Do you want me to listen and give an opinion? Do you want me to share an idea of what I've done in a similar situation? So that actually we don't overstep that mark or do the wrong thing. And that sounds like super easy to do, but it's really hard, because we get pulled back, and you teach this so beautifully, Dr. Jacalyn. But in the moment when somebody runs up and says, can I just talk to you about this? We hit an emotional barrier, which is, oh my goodness, I really can't right now because I've got this going on, but now I'm faced with you, and I don't want to let you down, and I don't want. So there's a myriad of emotions and thoughts that are going through our head, that we have to sift through, that we have to work through. And I remember one many years ago when I was a youngish team leader, where a new team leader had written down some feedback, and the positive feedback was I always go out of my way to help, and the thing I could do better, not always listening. And my initial response was, rude. I always listen, followed immediately by, oh my goodness, she's right. Because what happened was, because she was a new team leader, if she'd come up to me and go, Kim, can I need your help with this? Even if I was busy doing something else, maybe for a customer or for somebody else, I'd immediately turn to look at her. But what I really needed to do was finish the help I'd already committed to. So I said to her, what I should do is say to you, can you just give me 2 minutes to finish this, and I'll be right with you, unless it's an emergency. I said, and you can say, oh, actually, it is an emergency. This person's really ill. I need you. Yeah, I need you right now. So moving forward, I'm going to say to you, can you give me 2 minutes? I said, if I still don't look like I'm listening, ask me, Kim, am I listening? So we kind of set a boundary and create a permission for future interactions to make sure neither one of us ended up feeling so uncomfortable.
And I always say that in the discomfort, in being uncomfortable, there's a lot of growth there. And if we're open to it, who knows where we can go? Because look at what you've been able to do in all these years. How would you say, for our audience who never met you, what would you say is the most transformative thing that's happened to you?
I would probably say the most transformative thing that happened to me was becoming a mum. Purely on the basis that suddenly my inner child was outside running around. So all the damage that I'd done to myself was right there in front of me. And it's really hard to continue to damage yourself when you're looking at a little person looking back at you, that you go, I wouldn't say any of those things to you. So I'd need to stop saying them to me. But that was just because I think for me personally, the where you are right now has to become so very uncomfortable, so unbearable, that you have no choice but to change. Because if not, you'll find a million reasons to stay exactly where you are.
And I think that's interesting. I was just talking about this with someone. It's interesting how some people will stay in the town where they were born and do the same thing and have the same friends. And other people are willing to just say, hey, let me go out and see what else is out there. And I'm not judging either one of them. It is just interesting what really motivates someone. And I think, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and how they change. One of my very best friends, we've been friends since we were 4, and she still lives in the village we grew up in, works there, and we're still the best of friends, and we still see each other all the time. And yet I was the one that upped sticks 30 odd years ago, and have been everywhere. So on paper, you might go, that shouldn't work, and yet it does, and it works because our values, our values, our memories, and the love that we have for each other is deeper than where we live and what we do. It comes from that shared set of values, that shared set of, and that sense of family, I guess. And I think it is it's interesting when we kind of, when we go through those debates, because we're probably an unusual coupling for most of our other friends that have that are. You stay with the friends. If you're somebody who's left, you've left. We might see you once in a blue moon, and if you stay, we see you all the time. I think it's just the dynamic that changes, isn't it?
I think you're right about that. And I think for me, probably the most transformative time was during COVID, when I decided to move in and take care of my mother.
Yeah.
And it was really not something I can even describe. I have obviously heard of dementia. We have a television show with Tracy Cram Perkins, an author of this by the same name of the TV show, which is Dementia: Home Care Before, During, and After. But actually seeing it and seeing what happens to someone you love, someone who at 80 years of age was playing competitive tennis on a tennis team and traveling around, just such a beautiful person inside and out. And then being in a position where I'm making decisions for
Yeah.
her. And I've never had children. And I've never been in a position where I'm taking care of someone full time. I mean, obviously I've been in long-term relationships, but they were taking care of themselves. And to go through that and at the same time be in a pandemic and then starting a new business and then broadcasting, wondering, is she wandering off? She doesn't have that little GPS tracker, where it was really something that I can't even explain. And what I learned about it, what I learned from it really is, as much as you love someone, our fate is really determined, and you can't stop the process. You can throw a wrench in it, but basically just being there and loving the person and caring for the person and doing the best that you can. I made a lot of mistakes that I realize now by watching Tracy's shows when she's these experts on. And so that was the most transformative time in my life. And I feel as a result of that I don't waste a minute. I'm doing what I want to do on my terms, because I know at any day that could happen to me or something else could happen. Something will happen. As my dad used to say, none of us are getting out of this thing alive.
It's so true. And my granddad used to say, live each day as if it's your last, and one day you'll be right, because we just don't know. And so if today were to be our last, would we really have wanted to spend it worrying about what people thought about us choosing to do something that brought us joy? No. So again, as long as what we're doing isn't purposefully hurting somebody or causing them pain, then we should be allowed to do it. And it shouldn't matter. You should, because we're not impacting their happiness or their joy, and they shouldn't want to impact ours. But I think I think we've got a way to go to that, because we've created a world, and I think social media has its part to play in this, where everybody's got an opinion, which everybody has, but everybody now feels it's their, it's not only their right, but it's their mission to share that opinion, but without thinking about what am I hoping to achieve from it. We've got a global pandemic of mental health challenges and rising suicide and all kinds of problems that go around that. And how much of that is triggered by lack of thought of somebody sharing an opinion they didn't expect to go anywhere?
Spot on, as always. I can't believe we are at the end of our show. It always goes by so quickly. Do you have a quote for us today?
Oh, do you know, I do. And it probably is going to link back to the dancing, but I've used this one lots of times. And Dr. Jacalyn, as you know, at the moment, this problem fits for me. And that is, life isn't about avoiding the storm. It's about learning to dance in the rain. And so whenever life gets turbulent for me, my mantra is time to dance.
Dance we will. I was pulling up your website, so sorry, my finger got stuck, so I was scrolling back. Let's take a look at your website, which is AuthenticAchievements.com. And there you are. Tell us about your TEDx speech, please.
Yeah, so my TEDx, which is a couple of years old now, really is about the power of turning your fear into hope. And you turn it that way through the power of belief, either your belief or borrowed belief. Because the thing we're fearful of hasn't happened, and the thing that we're hopeful for hasn't happened. We've created those in the same brain. So neither one is more likely, neither one is more credible. And yet we choose to believe what we're fearful of is more likely and more credible. And yet instead, if we choose to believe what we're hopeful for is more credible, it's amazing what doors open to you. If I look back at the last since the pandemic, the amount of things that have changed, the amount of opportunities that I was gifted, like, do you want to co-author a book? That I was like, no, I can't do that. Which led to the next book and the next book, which led to the podcast, which led to here, which led to the. So I think, and I think it's, I can't think whose quote this one is, but it's, if you're given an opportunity, take it and then learn how to do it on the job. Because whilst we're waiting to be ready, while we're waiting to be perfect, for the perfect opportunity, for the perfect time, we'll be waiting a long time. And progression beats perfection every time. It's in the iterations of the little steps where we actually make the greatest growth.
Absolutely. And while we're waiting and waiting, by the way, life is still going on.
Yeah.
And we're missing out on opportunities. So I don't wait. I'm not waiting anymore. I seize the day, so to speak.
I love that. And you should, and so should everybody else. We all have an opportunity. The only thing we're gifted is today, and that's why it's called the present, because it's a gift. So we need to spend more time in it, I think.
Absolutely. Keep your head where your feet are.
I love that.
So I look forward to meeting you in person in less than 2 weeks. I can't believe it. It's been four plus years, and to give you a hug is going to be tremendous.
Oh, we can't wait to.
Kim Adele Randall, what is the best way for people to reach you, and who would you like to contact you?
Okay. So the best way to reach me is you find me on most social media as Kim Adele Randall or Kim Adele 10. You can get me at my website, which is www.authenticachievements.com, or email me direct at kimadelrandall.com. And I help people that are wanting to have a strategy for themselves. So many C-suite leaders or entrepreneurs have got a strategy for everything else, but what about them, their life, and their future? So if that's you, reach out. I'd love to help.
Thank you again for sharing this space and for bringing all of your integrity and professionalism and experience. I really do honor you, and thank you for taking this journey with me and with our team.
Thank you for letting me be part of it, Dr. Jacalyn, and you do an amazing job to unite so many people who can add inspiration and actionable advice. I am very grateful to be part of the team.
Thank you so much. We'll see you later. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
And that was Kim Adele Randall, founder of Authentic Achievements. And this show was invented by her. And so we're grateful that it is on our platform. Our next show is coming up. It's The Power of Etiquette and Manners with Mr. Philip Sykes from the British School of Excellence. And I personally am very grateful to Philip. He has invited me to London on the London experience that he and his team have created, which is a day on the British Pullman train. And the next day is at Royal Ascot. And then the following day, I'm teaching my course, Setting Boundaries and Asking Permission. And then we're having afternoon tea. So it's really exciting. And I just want to thank all of you who are watching. And if you don't know, please do subscribe to our 2 YouTube channels. We have Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and we have USA Global TV and Radio. And I will put up our graphic, which you can just go ahead and scan that QR code at the bottom, and then I'll take you right to USA Global TV and Radio, our YouTube channel. We'd love to have you with us because we've got, if you don't know, we've got 60 different show hosts from around the world. And I'm soon to be going on a media and book tour. I mentioned I'm going to London, followed by Paris, Milan, Vienna, and then back to London to do a speech. So during my travels, I'll be doing a book signing at Waterstones in Piccadilly. And I will also be meeting with TV show hosts and podcast experts who speak fluent foreign language from the US, from English, that want to bring their shows onto our platform so that we can be running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So thank you again for listening. Thank you for following. Thank you for telling your friends. We really do appreciate it. If you'd like to join us here at USA Global TV and Radio, please go to our website and go to the Contact Us form, and we'd be happy to hear what it is you have in mind. If you'd like to be a TV show host, if you'd like to join our elevated listening team, I do believe, and it is my mission, I created a video last night, no makeup after 3 workout classes, and I didn't look my best, and I didn't care. I had a message of gratitude that I wanted to share. And so the message is that I believe my role here on this planet is to help people learn how to listen. And I've done over 6,100 interviews, whether I produced them or I hosted them. And I've taught this course in many places in the world, setting boundaries and asking permission, also the power of elevated listening. And so I'd love for you to become an elevated listener and join our team. I'm a peace ambassador, and I would love for all of us to find inner peace so we could be one step closer to world peace. So with that, I'm going to leave you with a brand new movie trailer for my upcoming book, which is called The Kindness Adventures, Lady Ella and Lord Jack's Kindness Adventures. Lady Ella is my great niece, Ella, and Lord Jack is her brother, my great nephew. And together they are traveling the world, helping to teach kindness. So let's take a look, and then we'll be closing out and coming back with our next show. Bye for now.
Lady Ella flies up high, spreading kindness through the sky. With Lord Jack right by her side, through the world they glide. They listen close, they understand, helping creatures in the land. With open hearts, they lend a hand. Come along, come and see. Kindness starts with you and me. Listen close, hear the sound. Kindness makes the world go round. Goo goo gaga, goo goo gaga. So spread your wings and soar so high, like Lady Ella in the sky. With Lord Jack we'll always stay, listening and kindness light the way.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to TracyCramPerkins.com. Tracy Cram Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
Conveniently located in the Cherry Hill Mall in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, Avio Art specializes in custom art and photography printing. From museum-quality canvas prints and stretching to photo restoration, fine art reproduction, and framing with museum-grade glass, every service is completed in-house with exceptional attention to detail. Visit avioart.com or email support@avioart.com.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents our partner and sponsor, Mr. Philip Sykes and the British School of Excellence. Building confidence, changing lives. And now, proudly presenting The Polished Professional.
On a transformative journey with the British School of Excellence's comprehensive suite of masterclasses, crafted to elevate your professional and personal life. 8 outstanding modules will elevate you to the next level. Module 1, Exploring Life's Purpose, delves into the depths of self-discovery, guiding you to chart your unique path to fulfillment and success. Module 2, Mastering Professional Presence and Confidence. This masterclass is a deep dive into the art of self-assurance and commanding presence, which is essential for standing out in today's competitive landscape. Module 3, learn the secrets of visual impact, how to curate a personal style that amplifies your professional brand. Module 4, mastering professional etiquette and communication excellence, navigating the nuances of corporate interaction with grace and tact. Module 5, elegance in eloquence. We impart powerful techniques to captivate and persuade any audience with your oratory skills. Module 6, unlock the potential of your emotional intelligence, EQ, and harness the ability to connect, empathize, and lead with emotional savvy. Module 7, mastering DISC, building a gateway to understanding behavioral styles, fostering better personal and professional relationships. Module 8, mastery in dining etiquette, building your confidence to perfect the subtleties of dining with finesse, enhancing your social savviness at any table. Step into the Polished Professional program where poise, elegance, and excellence aren't just taught, they're instilled for life. Join us to redefine your potential and polish your professional edge.
To learn more, go to thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. The British School of Excellence are investors in people. Let us invest in you.
In a world craving connection, one platform dared to dream bigger. USA Global TV and Radio, a beacon for global voices, authentic storytelling, and elevated listening. Led by visionary Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, the journey from a spark to a global force is now captured in one inspiring book. Honored with YouTube's Silver Creator Award for surpassing 100,000 subscribers. Discover the evolution, the challenges, the triumphs, and the unstoppable spirit that created a global movement. Executive producer Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang. Creative director Paul Garcia. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Now an Amazon #1 new release in paperback and ebook. Broadcasting Brilliance, the evolution of USA Global TV and Radio, is inspiring readers around the world. Join the movement that's redefining global media one story at a time.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA-Global-TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.